So putting out another video talking about plants, which is definitely nuking the channel, but that's all right. I am enjoying it. Just don't worry too much. There is going to be another Bionicle related video coming out later on this afternoon. But I picked up some exotic fruit from the store today. So this is a fruit video. We're not doing a taste test on these because some of these are not ripe, but I did want to go ahead and show them to you and implore you to maybe go out of your way and try something you've never tried before. So without further ado, let's get into it. And of course, if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe, especially videos like this. It really helps out in the algorithm because these videos go nowhere. With all that being said, let's start out with the first one. This might be a fruit that you're actually maybe familiar with. You may have seen, if not had before. It is this one right here, the Carambola, or star fruit, more commonly known here in the US. And you can see exactly why it is called that. A very photogenic fruit, seen on a lot of like trays, charcuterie boards, fruit spreads, whatever the case, whatever. Ignoring all of that, this is a delicious fruit, one of my personal favorites. And it is definitely one that is, you know, many people see it, but they don't buy it because they don't know exactly what it's going to be like. So let me go ahead and describe it to you first of all. Right now, it's hard to tell exactly when this is ripe, or at least if you're not familiar with it. However, it's going to go from a green to a greenish yellow to a sort of an orange rusty yellow, and even fully orange with some of them. And it's going to take on a wonderful smell. And I implore you to smell fruit. I know it sounds super weird, but it is honestly one of the best ways to know when something is ripe. Just know that if it's refrigerated, it's not usually going to smell in the fridge, although one of these is going to break that rule. That said, any fruit sitting out on a warm shelf, on a counter, out in stores in warm areas, those will take on a smell pretty quick and they will smell lovely. These are no exception to that. In terms of the flavor of these, a lot of people compare it to something like, well, a pear. And I would say, yeah, there are some similarities. This is definitely better, in my opinion, in basically every way. A very juicy fruit as well. And the exterior on it's kind of similar to like a cucumber. In fact, the whole fruit's kind of similar to a cucumber in that way. It's not related to cucumber at all. In fact, it is related to a weed that grows commonly outside, at least where I live, and probably where you live as well. That said, it is a delicious fruit, but there is one warning I have to give, and it's the exact same warning as I gave with the Monstera here. That is, if you are somebody who suffers from kidney issues, this does contain oxalic acid. That is what gives it most of its sour flavor, and that can cause problems if you have kidney issues. So if you do, best to avoid this fruit. If you don't, however, this is a pretty good one overall. And of course, the dosage makes the problem at the very least here. So moving on from that fruit, I have another one, which is also not the most uncommon fruit, depending on where you live, though it is a bit harder to find where I live personally. It is this right here, the passion fruit, and this is probably the most like densely flavored fruit I have ever had. This one right here is Passiflora edulis, specifically, probably a Frederick variety as well, which is my personal favorite from what I've tried so far, mostly because these are just a bit sweeter, a bit less harsh overall. Passion fruit, if you've ever had them, you probably regret having them when they look ripe like this, because you really want to wait for these to wrinkle. As they wrinkle, they get a lot sweeter, they lose a lot of that tartness. Like this, they're near as sour as a lemon, so quite sour. This is a little less tart than some of those other varieties and a little bit sweeter, so it is a lot more forgiving in that way. This will also, in fact, has taken on a smell of its own, and it is an acquired smell. It's an acquired taste in general, but it is good, and it's definitely something I think will grow on you. If you've ever had Hawaiian Punch from the stores, this is one of the main flavors from that as well, so you may have already tasted this, though there are obviously other fruits in that to give it its full flavor. Moving on to the next one here, I'm actually going to move to the largest fruit, and this is definitely one that you can smell even when it is cold. I say that because fruit tend to stop ripening in the cold. This one here is probably the largest species of citrus, and it's actually one of the few natural species of citrus. Most citrus that you buy in stores are actually hybrids that humans created. This, however, is an original species. This right here is the Pomelo. I don't know what variety of Pomelo this is, and they can get bigger than this as well. This is the largest of the citrus fruit that I am aware of, and smells divine. It smells kind of similar to a grapefruit, better. It actually tastes kind of like a grapefruit, but better in every way. They basically don't suck like grapefruits suck, in my opinion. They don't have a lot of that bitterness, a lot of that harshness, a lot of that. There's something else to grapefruit too that's hard for me to describe, and this does not have it, thankfully. This has a much more floral flavor to it. It's just a very, very good fruit, in my opinion. However, you might cut into this and be disappointed because there is a lot of pith here. Underneath this zest, underneath this exterior, that pith is probably about that thick. You can use it for candying purposes if you were somebody who candies citrus fruit. So it is like edible and you can zest this and do whatever, but the fruit inside is obviously what you're after. It's worth noting that this is a bit drier than some citrus as well, and those wedges that make up the inside of the citrus are a lot less held together, so that it actually kind of comes apart in little pearls. It's delicious, and it's a really interesting texture as well, but that can be a bit messy if you're not familiar with this fruit. Just be prepared for it, but it is a delicious fruit, and I really implore you to try this one as well. And just for comparison, I have an orange here, so you can see just how big this is. This is a Cara, my personal favorite citrus. This is probably my second favorite citrus. And trust me, I have had about 1 billion. So they're all very good. All right, so the last fruit here may be one that you haven't heard of. You've probably had it, or at least had it in things, because it is used in a lot of condiments. It is used in a lot of sauces. It is an interesting fruit. This one right here, the tamarind. And I know it looks a little bit weird here on camera for sure. This is a bean, but it's a fruit bean. It's not savory like basically every other kind except for like ice cream beans, which are also sweet. This is a fruit. It is, as far as I know, the only species in its genus, but don't quote me on that. It has been a long time since I've done research on this, and there are sweet and sour varieties. This is a sweet tamarind here. Sour in beans just doesn't make sense in my brain, but it is a thing. On top of that, this is a very hard exterior. It's like a peanut shell almost. It actually very similar to a peanut shell now that I think about it. Peanuts also being beans. So, you know, with all of that being said though, in terms of the flavor of this, it's kind of hard to describe. I want to say there's definitely notes of like a molasses. It's a very sweet fruit. There's definitely notes of like almost a root beer kind of flavor. I think that's probably the closest thing I can think of. It's a hard fruit to describe, but it is a good fruit. It's a very sticky fruit though, and it's a very messy fruit, very fibrous as well. So it is one that if we make a video about it, is going to take a little bit more effort. And don't worry, I got plenty more where that came from. So, because you buy these typically by the pound in a box. So a lot of fruit here, got a lot of things to really look forward to. And I'm super happy for all of these. Hopefully these are something that we're going to be able to actually do video of over here. Almost picked up a table today, but opted not to because of the price of it, because I can get better. For all intents and purposes, expect videos on the channel to change, especially for review type videos, as I slowly start to whittle my way over here for those more head-on, face-on sort of reviews, if that makes sense. Of course, there's still going to be videos like this, so don't worry. Nothing about the channel itself is changing. We're just growing. We're making things... I've got the hiccups. We're making things different, trying new things. All right, so with all that being said, if you do like this type of content, it really helps out to let us know by liking and subscribe. I keep saying us as if it's not just me here. Of course, you can also join in on the conversation. Let me know your thoughts on these fruits if you have tried them, or if you haven't, let me know what you think I should look out for next. Remember, I'm in Missouri, so I don't live anywhere tropical, but there are definitely some interesting things to be found here. So you can let me know that in the comments below, or you can check out the Discord, Instagram, or Patreon if you want to support the channel and get some perks. And there is a dedicated channel in the Discord called Fruitbird, where we talk about fruit and plants in general. So I will see you all in the next one. Take care.